So, our special guest today is Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And Debbie comes from the great state of
Florida,
where I was born. Yes. I was born in Jacksonville, but I packed my diaper bag at 2 weeks and hit the road. I became a world traveler. But you didn't start your journey there.
No.
You started your journey in
New York. I grew up on Long Island.
So you kind of got that southern New Yorker accent going there.
Yeah, exactly. That's right, which has sort of been, after 25 years in Florida, bred out of me. I live in South Florida, represent a district that includes Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, and Miami Beach. But I grew up on Long Island, lived in Nassau and Suffolk County until I graduated from high school, and then I packed my bags and moved to Florida to attend the University of Florida. Go Gators.
Yeah. So let's talk about what it was like growing up in Long Island and what you were doing, because one of the things we always discuss
with a tissue, though, because
you can do it with a tissue.
For some reason, as soon as I start speaking, my nose starts to run.
It's allergies. I don't have.
We can add that off the tape too, but
okay.
Yeah, napkin will
Okay,
work. That's great.
Some.
I don't know what
now,
it is.
I know there's got to be one woman in here who's got tissues in her purse. Every woman. Okay. See. Okay, we got tissues. All right.
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
So, talk about growing up, because I always, every journey we ever have, when we meet somebody, is understanding the happenstances, the occurrences that created this sense that, oh, I can do that. I can do something that's a little unconventional. So were you a bossy little girl?
Yeah, I no question that I was bossy. That was, we were talking about that earlier. That was actually, always written into the bottom of my report cards was, I was either too chatty or talkative, or, Debbie needs to. Control freak wasn't really a term in the 1970s when I was in elementary school, but definitely was interested in corralling my friends to do what I wanted them to do.
So were you the friend that always talked everybody into do it, and you were the one who ended up on, or they were the ones who ended up on restriction?
No, I wasn't a troublemaker at all. I am the straightest arrow that you will ever meet. I'm the girl that never caused my parents a moment's trouble. So maybe that will make the conversation with me not very interesting. But I don't really have a lot of living life on the edge type stories. I grew up in the most normal household. My parents just celebrated last weekend their 45th wedding anniversary. My 18th anniversary is Monday. So yeah, I have had a very stable childhood. I love my brother. He lives in D.C. He's an assistant U.S. attorney. I have described when I've been asked by other people to talk about this. I really had an idyllic childhood. It couldn't have been better. And about the worst thing I ever did in high school was. I had this live on the edge boyfriend. I didn't. I just did it through him. I had an other side of the tracks boyfriend my senior year in high school, and first love. Just absolutely wanted to. I was sure I was going to marry him, and the whole deal. And so twice, I didn't go to school. Although I led my parents to believe that I went to school. They know about this now, so and we lived in a cul-de-sac, so I left my house, to walk up the street to go to the bus stop, and instead ducked into the cul-de-sac, waited till my parents went to work, and then went back in the house. And then he lived on one side of town and I lived on the other, and we started walking at the same time, and we met in the middle, and then walked back to my house and spent the day at my house. But so I did that twice in my senior year. And that's the only thing I can remember that was edgy or racy for me growing up.
That's not too risque.
No,
yeah,
no, not really.
I won't mention any time that I ever cut school. Made the bus driver drop me off at the train station to pick us up. So. we were in Japan at the time.
Right.
So what was it like for your brother? What type of relationship do you have with your brother?
We're very close. My brother's 2.5 years younger than me. He's single, by the way. He's a lawyer in town. Very nice-looking guy, very funny. And so if you know anyone who's also single, please let me know.
I can vouch for the fact he's got the cute factor going
on.
That's
right.
He's
Cynthia knows.
very, very cute. So
also smart and funny. So I'm doing a
But
little
you're not trying to do a
advertisement.
fix-up or anything.
Oh, no, not me. I would never do that. You know, Jewish mothers, we don't do that at all.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have any of that genetic trait.
So what brought you to decide that you wanted to go to college in Florida? What was the appeal?
My dad is a graduate of the University of Florida as well, and he came down, moved back to New York, and when I was applying to schools, I kind of applied all over the country. My parents were very intent on me going to a university with a campus, you know, so I could have the full college experience. Of course, I was still in love with the boyfriend, so I thought for sure that I was going to go to NYU, which I was accepted to, but that was ruled off limits because it didn't have a real enough campus. It was they didn't think a city college experience was going to be the right one for me, and they wanted me as far away from the boyfriend as.
I was kind of thinking maybe that was the other side of it.
That had a little to do with it, but mostly that they wanted, you know, beautiful rolling green grass and that kind of thing, which you absolutely have at the University of Florida. So my dad, you know, encouraged me to apply to UF. I had no intention of going there, but we always used to go down to South Florida. Every year we would drive down to Florida. Actually, I represent the condo that my grandmother lived in for 20 years that we always visited every year since I was 4 years old. It's really bizarre that, you know, from the time I was 4, I was visiting the district that I would one day represent in Congress. It was pretty neat. But anyway, my dad stopped in Gainesville on the drive down so that we could visit the campus, and I you know, was fine with that. Sure, I'll go see it. I'm not going here, but I'll go see it. And I walked on to the campus, turned around to my mom, who was walking behind me, and said, "Are there any ugly guys here?" After, you know, one after the other, a really attractive college student walked by me, and I was very close to that time that I decided apparently I am going to the University of Florida. So I had been accepted early decision at UF, and was, you know, the decision was pretty much over at that point. When you grow up in New York and you stand at a bus stop in, you know, less than 0-degree weather for many, many years, and you feel the weather even in Gainesville, Florida, which is north central Florida, which occasionally is quite cold, you can really quickly see the appeal to attending college in Florida. So I went to Florida and got my master's from Florida as well, and got hit by a lightning bolt because I mean, I'm sure you'll get into this, but I didn't always want to be a politician. I was never involved in politics. No one in my family has been involved in politics. I am the first one. And I got involved I wanted to be a veterinarian my entire life.
I was going to ask you what you wanted to be when you, because we all have those aspirations, a veterinarian.
Yeah,
I
was always a very focused person. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and this is how I was going to do it. And in high school, I did everything in my life directed towards being a veterinarian. I was a volunteer in an animal hospital for 4 years in high school, rode my bike every day back and forth to the animal hospital to get there because I had a little difficulty passing a road test, even once I was old enough. So you generally don't want to get in the car with me when I'm behind the wheel.
Now I understand why your staffers always say Debbie's not driving.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. It's not a good idea for Debbie to be driving. It's not a good idea for Debbie to be doing anything mechanical, for that matter. But my children are safe when I drive them around at home, so that's we can breathe a sigh of relief there. But I also was dual enrolled in high school at the local agricultural and technical college because they had animal science. They had pre-vet animal science classes, which I took, and my mom drove me back and forth during the school day to the college and high school. And then I got involved in student government. So that's what I thought I was going to do. Took every class directed towards that my freshman year, and got involved in student government at the same time because I was always involved in a million activities in high school, and was all over the place in that way. Played sports, and it was like I got hit by a lightning bolt when I got involved in student government. I had run for several class offices in high school, but I was not pansy popular. You had in high school, all of those student government offices were based on super intense popularity. I had a lot of great friends. I was popular with my group, but not, the stratosphere popular. So I ran for class president in 8th grade, lost. Ran for class vice president in 10th grade, set my sights a little lower, lost. But, I always wanted to serve. And that's really how my parents raised me. They believed that, and they always instilled in my brother and I. His name is Steve, by the way.
And he's single.
And he is
and
single.
He's cute.
Yes,
okay.
that's right.
And he's a U.S. Assistant Attorney.
Exactly, in case I hadn't mentioned that. But around the dinner table, we had this normal childhood, like I told you. And around the dinner table, my parents would always talk about, we weren't wealthy, but we were, we did just fine. And, a family that never worried about where the next meal was coming from, was able to take vacations. I did not really want for anything, but certainly didn't have, wildly beyond most people's means. But they always instilled in us that because we were fortunate, that it was important for us to give back to the community, and that we should be involved and help make other people's lives better. So that's really where I got my desire to be involved in the community in school and in student government. And when I got involved in student government, it was like I walked out of a dark room into the light. It really just hit me how you could, first of all, how intense politics is. And I mean, it really is an adrenaline rush. It really is. It's just something that I thrive off and feed on. But mostly because I love figuring out how to get people to do what they didn't realize they wanted to do until they met me. So
how old were you when that realization came? Do you
18.
think 18. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Freshman
when it kind
year.
of sparked.